Well, on the episode of Jay Leno's Garage, I think this will be an interesting one because this is a subject that a lot of people talk about and a lot of people don't understand, including me. It's about engine cooling. Next to what kind of oil should I run in my old car, engine cooling is another one of those issues that you got the old guys feel one way, you got the new guys feel this way, and it's hard to figure out who's right. This is a product I've been using for about 16 years. This Evans Waterless Cooling. I used it in my Merlin-powered Rolls-Royce over there for years and years, had no corrosion problems. I have not used it in cars like the Duesenberg because a lot of the old car guys say because of the higher temperature, the higher boiling point, it can affect the metal. What I usually run in the Duesenbergs and my old cars is water with an anti-corrosive additive of some kind. But what can happen is this is a water plate of a Duesenberg engine. 16 years ago, we made this out of 6061 aluminum. Well, look what happened on the inside. Okay, what happened was I was polishing this, I opened the hood, I went, oh, let me shine it up a little bit, and my finger went right through it here, and my finger went through it here, and of course water started pouring out. So we got a piece of stainless steel, and we made a new one of these. But look at what corrosion has done, and we had handfuls of junk and gunk that got in the radiator. We had to flush the whole system. Now, had I been running this, that would not have happened. But I'm here with Mike Torville. You're the, what is it, product manager?
The marketing director.
Marketing director for Evans Cooling. Because it's life of the car coolant, I have not, I run it in one of my Bugattis, and I put it in my Bugatti 14 years ago, and I haven't touched it since. And it seems to be okay. That's an all aluminum engine, and obviously there's no corrosion. Explain to us exactly what a waterless coolant is.
Well, that's the biggest feature, that it has no water. And
Right.
most, if not all, other coolants are a blend of an ethylene glycol and water, usually 50-50. So the water has certain characteristics that some are good and some are not so good. So
Right.
you've taken sort of an acceptable compromise when you have the water. The good part is that water is a better thermal conductor,
Right.
as we discussed, but it also is corrosive. So the fact that it's waterless too is it has a much lower boiling point, as
Right.
you mentioned. The boiling point of water is 212 and ours is 375 degrees.
It make any difference whether it's, I guess in a non-pressurized system, this would work better because you're less likely to boil over, correct?
You're correct. You're
Yeah.
less likely, in fact, you aren't likely at all to boil over with
Right.
this. The system's normally pressurized to increase the boiling point.
Right.
So you want to increase the boiling point, let's say for every pound of pressure, I think you increase the boiling point by 3 degrees. So you need to elevate that boiling point to create a safe margin between the operating temperature and the boiling point. There's a safe margin by about 150 degrees with this.
Okay.
So you can't overheat, and you don't have to pressurize the system. So you're operating under a safer pressure. Really, it's a very, very low pressure. So we've all experienced it. If you're driving in high heat and you want to stop and take that radiator cap off,
Right.
you better be very careful.
Right.
Because it's going to gush out like a volcano.
Right.
With this, if you can, at any temperature, you can open it up and it'll just pop like a soda can.
Wow.
That's
okay.
it. So there's not that pressure, so it's much safer.
And my other question is, it's life of the car coolant, and as someone who's had vehicles for 30 years, it's life of the car, isn't it?
Yeah, you buy it once and that's it.
Yeah, okay, that's
yeah.
pretty amazing. And there's never the need, you know, they always tell you flush your cooling system if you live in the Northeast every 2 years or 3 years or maximum 5 years. There's no need to ever flush your cooling system again, is there?
You don't need to flush it. In fact, we recommend against flushing it because flushing it normally means you flush it with water and that
Right.
will make the problem worse. If you have our coolant in your system, there's a couple things. We don't require the additives that are normally required in a water-based coolant. Those additives normally drop out over time.
Okay.
But ours don't require those additives, and they remain soluble for the life of, you know, for the life of the engine.
So let's say I have a car with, let's say I've got a mid-60s Mustang that I've restored myself. Do I need to, before I do this, flush the block, blow air through everything, get it completely dry, or
Dry.
is a little pocket of water somewhere going to hurt anything?
It's not. In fact, we can tolerate up to 3% water.
Okay.
So you can just do the math and think of how
Right.
much how many gallons of coolant you have and how much you can have left in the system. 3%, you won't be once you start going above 3%, you might become subjected to the corrosion.
Right.
And the boiling point will change as well.
Now, obviously, this is a lot more expensive than antifreeze.
Well, if you look at it when you first buy it, it is more expensive.
How much,
It doesn't
how much
contain
does
water.
stuff run per gallon?
It's about $39.95 a gallon for the
Okay.
NPG Plus. We have a couple of different blends and their prices vary for different applications. But really, in the long run, it becomes the least expensive coolant because you're buying it once.
And obviously, it's not going to fix a bad cooling system. I mean, if you're going to put something like this in your car, flush the block out, make sure you have, for some reason, radiator seems to be the last thing people think about. There's something wrong with my car. They'll go to timing, they'll spend fortunes on carburetors, and they'll just flush their radiator. For some reason, people don't like to replace their radiators. Radiators are about $150 to $300 or $400 for the most unbelievable aluminum custom-made radiator you could get. I mean, it's in relation to other things on an automobile, it's not that expensive, and it obviously is one of the most important things. Let me ask you a question. Why don't more manufacturers make this standard equipment so you can say to people, this is life of the car coolant, you never have to change it? Why is that?
We would like them to.
Yeah.
And we're working on it.
Is it because it adds about $400 to the price?
It depends. It wouldn't add $400 if your cooling system had 3 gallons and this is 39. It's
well, I'm
another
thinking my old
120.
cars with 12-gallon cooling
But it wouldn't matter
systems.
that much, would
Yeah,
with that?
yeah, I know. Or that Merlin's going to take about 15 gallons. It's going to be a little crazy.
Yeah, in the trucks, we do that in the trucks, and obviously their cooling systems are about 14, 15 gallons. So
Right, right.
certainly that's
So a lot of
difference.
truckers are using this, correct?
A lot of truckers are using it because the diesel engines operate at a higher temperature.
Mm-hmm.
They gain efficiency, they decrease their fan on time, and they're saving fuel, usually between 3 and 8%.
Not to belabor this point, but this is something people find hard to believe. You never, ever have to change it.
Never.
There's nothing at 480,000 miles of, 10 years, and you got 500,000 miles. It's still as good as the day you put it in.
We say it'll last the life of the engine, but it'll probably outlast your engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If somebody has an engine failure, they'll probably save the coolant and use it.
Is there any way to test it to see if your coolant has deteriorated?
The coolant, to test the integrity of the coolant, we're working on a dipping,
Litmus test
litmus
kind-
test
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a thing. But really, the most important thing is to test for water.
Yeah.
And we use either a refractometer
Okay.
to test for
A
the water.
refractometer. I know what that. I never heard of that. Jim Hall has just handed me our refractometer. I didn't even know we had one here at the shop. So there you go. Explain how that works.
It's pretty easy. You take a drop of any liquid. In our case, you put a drop of the
Right.
coolant on there, and you close it. It's like a little magnifying glass. You hold it up to
Right.
the light, and you can see a gauge that tells you it's on a Brix scale, and the Brix scale will tell you how to translate that Brix scale into
let's
water
see.
content. Look up in the
Oh, look at that. Yeah. You are the father. There you go. Most motorcycles now, or I'd say probably 80–90%, are water cooled. Works on motorcycles as well?
Yes, it works great on motorcycles. In fact, most of the factory-sponsored motocross teams use our coolant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Obviously, you're not going to need more than probably a gallon or two.
About a gallon or two.
About a gallon, so that's not going to break the bank. $40 to save your engine
Yeah.
life of the motorcycle. That's pretty good because most of the motorcycles are aluminum, and when you look at that water pump after a few years, especially if you're back east, and you put the bike in the garage at the end of September and you take it out at the beginning of May, you're going to see a lot of corrosion in and around that water pump area, which you won't get with this.
You're right, and with the high pressure, the high temperatures, you're spitting out a lot of coolant. That doesn't happen with this.
Right, right. Yeah, that's true. You probably don't need your overflow bottle, do you?
Right.
Yeah. See? Get rid of that overflow bottle. Now, what is your website?
It's www.evanscooling.com, and there's a lot of information on that website.
Yeah, I first heard about this when I got that Merlin powered rolls in about 94, 95, and I read that GE and some of their big locomotives, those diesel electric locomotives, are using this. And I thought, well, let me give it a try. And I must say, I never had any overheating problems. I was very impressed with it in that big motor. I had other problems with that, things like drop valves and whatnot. But cooling was never one of them. Cars like the Tatra, cars like the Porsche, cars like the Corvair, it's so great having no cooling systems because nothing ever corrodes. And that's the nice thing about this. That's the biggest problem with my Duesenbergs and some of these old cars. I look at the water pump and I see that green line where air is mixed with some of it leaking out. And they go, look at it, it gets all corroded around there, the chrome, the copper. You never, ever have that problem. The only problem you have is $39.99 a gallon. That's really the only problem.
You eliminate a lot of other problems.
You eliminate a lot of other problems as well.
There is one thing I should like to add.
Yes?
Is about the toxicity. I think we all know how toxic ethylene glycol is. It's fatal.
Yeah,
for
if you have a
animals,
pet or an animal and your car overheats in the driveway, and you see that green fluid, your cat or dog will lick that up and they'll die immediately. I mean, that's just one of those deals, you know, and then your neighbor goes, hey, you poisoned my cat. You don't want to go through that. Believe me, you don't want to go through that. This is not toxic?
This is safe. This is, you can drink it. It is not fatal.
Let's take a look and
Test
see.
your loyalty. All right.
You know, I can't afford one of these drinks. You know, that's the most expensive drink you're going to buy, really. But, well, that's good to know. That's true. I didn't know that. So it's not toxic. Because that is the problem. I know a lot of people, and you know, little kids, too. You have 5- and 6-year-old kids, and they see something green in the driveway, and they taste it, and it's sweet, and it's bad. So, well, you know, I'm going to try this in some of my other cars. I think we'll try it in one of the Duesenbergs and see. You know, Randy Eva, my Duesenberg specialist, he kind of scares me a little bit because he's old school. Whatever came with the factory, that's the way he likes to go. And because it has an intake manifold where the water runs through, we've blocked that off because it's aluminum and we don't want that to corrode. So consequently, the engine never gets quite as hot as it should. So maybe we'll open that up, we'll try some of this in the Duesenberg, and we'll keep you posted. But I've been using it for 16 years. I haven't had any problems. So, well, check it out. Go to the website, make up your own mind. Mike, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.